is a nonprofit group, and we've been active on Mount Hood for 10 years now, using the tools that were put in place with the National Environmental Policy Act that were intended for the public to be involved with federal actions relating to the environment.
We focus on Mount Hood National Forest, and we monitor the timber sales mostly out here. We also work on some other issues that come up about Mount Hood. There's a lot of different users of Mount Hood National Forest. People come out here to go hiking like us today. People come out here to hunt, to fish, to birdwatch, to ski. People do all sorts of things out here.
We bring folks out to the timber sales themselves so folks can have some first-hand experience on what these timber sales look like and what the agency proposes to do. We do ground truthing trainings, so we train people how to come out and how to monitor these sales to learn for themselves, how to come out and play detective in these forests and find all the details. We also do other little trainings like NEPA trainings, which is all the environmental law stuff behind how these sales work.
In the 1970s, a law was passed, the National Environmental Policy Act, after incredible hard work by many in the activist community and citizens across the country, and that act said you can't just go cutting down all the trees. We need to be able to evaluate whether this is a good thing or not.
This entire area is spotted owl dispersal habitat. 17 pairs of spotted owls are in the vicinity of all of the units that this sale encompasses. And dispersal habitat for spotted owl is habitat when a pair of owls has young. Those babies have to go somewhere because they can't live in the same area, and they would either fly through this area to find another nesting spot, or they would hunt in this area.
BARC is a group that protects the Mount Hood National Forest, the waters and wildlife and forests of Mount Hood National Forest, from destructive logging projects, from excessive road building, from anything that's a threat to these beautiful public lands that we're going to be walking through today.
And it was founded by a lawyer and a folk singer. And basically they went out to a timber sale that they didn't agree with. They wrote comments on it. They won that timber sale, and they realized, like, wow, this is powerful. We can have a say in public lands management. And from that, it went on to form BARC.
I think it's probably best to start with the basics. We are in the Mount Hood National Forest, and the Mount Hood National Forest is owned by every single taxpayer in the United States.
And this is one of the things we do, is every second Sunday of the month we have a free hike to bring people actually out to the forest, to these places where there's threats to our public land, so people can walk on the ground and look at what it is that's so important about this, and hopefully get inspired to be out in the forest more and also help conserve it.
Cedar tree in potentially Unit 6, that the critters, most likely bobcat, cougar, have used this tree to mark their boundaries. They put their scent on it. Definitely signs that there's been a lot of use in this area.
Over this 10-year period, BARC has led more than 120 monthly ground truthing hikes, mainly to proposed timber sales in the Mount Hood National Forest. These hikes have also formed the basis for more than 100 public access television programs, which air over local Portland channels and often outside the area, and can also be found on the internet.
Say what you want about me, but I'm living in the green world, and I need the air to breathe.
The majority of these hikes have been to U.S. Forest Service or BLM, Bureau of Land Management timber sales in the Mount Hood National Forest, which were in some phase of the timber sale program. Some were challenged in court. Some were stopped. Some were altered and reissued, saving at least a portion of our threatened and dwindling forest habitat. And many were logged. These hikes are led throughout the year. This provides the opportunity for BARC to witness, explore, and evaluate any potential effects of erosion, road building, and ground compaction would arise from the logging. But these hikes are not all work. BARC sponsors hikes to learn about and gather mushrooms.
And make a cut. You can see that it's got this bright red kind of bleeding area here. It's called a Lactarius, and these are edible. Some people consider them quite delicious.
To admire and learn about native wildflowers, and the properties and uses of many of the medicinal plants which are so abundant in the Mount Hood National Forest.
Big broad leaves, and it's just starting to come into bud right now. The flowers, when they come out, will be kind of urn-shaped, bell-shaped, much like blueberry flowers, and indeed they are in the same plant family. Salal grows really prolifically in situations like this, like a little dry, like a little bit more of an open canopy maybe, or maybe it's a younger forest. It tolerates a little bit more dryness than like its friend the sword fern usually does, or than Oregon grape sometimes does. And salal is great to know because the berries are pretty tasty. Some plants will have sort of mediocre berries, some plants will have really tasty berries. Those berries are great. They're high in flavonoids, which makes them very good for basically capillary integrity throughout the body. And your capillaries staying strong has implications for good circulation to your fingers and toes and throughout the body, strong lungs, good vision.
Bark has explored the beauty of nature in many forest settings, leading citizens along creeks and streams, through meadows, along paths, climbing high in the elevation and winding down into watersheds. On these hikes, Bark has encountered many animals of the forest, witnessed damage caused by careless and irresponsible recreation, and even encountered angry zombies lamenting the loss of forest habitat. Over these 10 years, Bark has also provided forums to educate the public, such as the Mount Hood Timber Sale Review held in February of 2002, and the Mount Hood Summit held at the Mazama Lodge on Mount Hood. Among other things, over the years, they have helped to organize and participate in rallies to end commercial logging in our national forest, to stop the 47-mile Palomar pipeline clearcut. It's been a busy and eventful 10 years. And much of the thanks goes to the Bark hike leaders who volunteer their time and passion to explore and protect the forests we all love. Hike leaders choose specific timber sales to monitor, and many bring their own personal store of knowledge of plants, fungi, wildflowers, fire ecology.
There was a question earlier about why Douglas firs grow back after natural disturbances. What conditions are needed? Does anyone know? I told these guys already, but Douglas firs actually need bare mineral soil, which is the stuff that's underneath the topsoil, to grow, to germinate effectively. And they also like bright sun. And in a closed canopy forest where you just have mature forests, big Douglas firs, you don't really get a whole lot of sun. Fire can kill off some of those trees and open up the canopy enough that those Douglas firs can start growing back. And so that's why fire is pretty important to the life cycle out here.
And even those with an understanding of the political realities involved in protecting the environment. So thanks for your support and for helping Bark celebrate 10 years of advocating for forest protection. Whether it be organizing the monthly or other special hikes, leading seminars on government policy, or working with the community to oppose destructive extraction proposals, Bark will continue providing opportunities to experience and learn about our great national heritage, the Mount Hood National Forest.